Welcome to another Mother Runner, your best running friend in podcast form. We do all the talking, even on those pesky uphills. I'm your host, Sarah Bowen Shea, and alongside me in studio is Molly Williams. Hello, Molly.
Hello, Sarah.
So you are fresh off a very exciting family trip, and I'll be honest, that's the main reason why I brought you on, because I got to hear about it, and I thought everybody else would want to hear too.
That's right. My middle daughter, Lucy, just got married.
Congratulations.
Yes. And they eloped with family. That's what they wanted to do. So Aaron wanted he just wanted his parents, his brother and his sister just got married, so her husband came. And then it was just John and I and our other two daughters, Lane and Ellie, and Lane's husband, Kevin.
Very
Of
nice.
course, Lainey's got the baby.
Yeah.
Benny.
Yes.
We had that one for the wedding too.
Yes.
And Lainey officiated, did a great job. And beautiful. It was in North Cascades National Park. It was at a beautiful lake called Cutthroat Lake. And we got up there, yeah, kind of funny for a wedding, but more the fish, not the murder.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Crap. Making a slicing
gesture, yes.
That's right. But got up there early, like around 10 o'clock. So it was still relatively cool. And we changed into wedding garb.
Wait, so you really got to take us literally step by step.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how long did you hike for until you got to this spot? Had they scouted it out ahead of time? That whole thing.
Yes. Okay. So they did hire a photographer who was a photographer for Laney's wedding. So he met him out there at the parking lot for the hike.
Mm-hmm.
So prior to the hike, we've gone to this really cute little cafe, grocery store in Mazama, Washington. And if anybody's been there, you know, because it's the only one there. And we had in the middle of nowhere, the best pastries, the best bread.
Wow.
So good. I mean, it's worth the trip to Mazama. So we had our wonderful breakfast. We go out to the trailhead. We meet the photographer there. And then we proceed to the lake, which is about 2 miles, but relatively flat, mild uphill.
Mm-hmm.
He takes all these great pictures of us processing, and it was just really nice. We're all in our hiking garb.
Mm-hmm.
And we get up there, and we find a boys' area and a girls' area, and we change into wedding garb. And Lucy had gotten a white cotton dress from Anthropology. It looked really nice. Nothing really fancy, but, looked really nice. And all the young women had flowers in their hair.
Oh, little crowns.
Crowns, yeah. And Lucy had a little veil with hers, and so she got changed. And then they weren't sure that they were going to do a first look, Aaron and Lucy. You know the first look trend?
I do not know the first look trend.
You're too old. You're like, the kids ask me, did you do first look? I'm like, no. So the first look is when the bride and groom or the groom sees the bride for the first time in her wedding. And it's a big one for pictures, and the groom cries and all that kind of stuff. What did your husband do when he saw you?
I think Jack got tears in his eyes.
That's really nice.
Yes.
I think John said, "Oh, don't I look good?" I think it was about that exciting. Oh yeah, you look well. I had the worst hairdo though for high. We got married on the 4th of July, and everybody was closed in our little town. So found the one person that would do hair, and it was 1992, but I had like 1960s straight up beehive with all the hairspray. It was the most hilarious thing. Pictures are crazy. Anyway, back. This isn't about me. This is about Lucy. So back to that. So anyway, they did their first look. They weren't sure they were going to do it.
Okay.
So the photographer has Aaron go to the lake, and he turns his back, and then Lucy approaches him, and she's standing behind him, and he's like, "Okay, I'm going to count to 3, and you turn around." And so all the rest of us are standing kind of back in the trees where they can't really see us. And, lady the whole time said, "Mom, this isn't about you. Make sure you don't say anything. Now, get back here. This isn't about you."
Lane telling you what to do, being bossy. I don't. Oh, it's so against character. Love you, Lane.
I know. When they were looking for somebody to officiate, and they said, "Well, who likes to talk?" Lane likes to talk. She probably did. I said, "Mom, did you want to do it?" I said, "Well, if anybody wants attention, it's Lane or it's me." So I don't know. for chitchat with Shea. Anyway, I say it all in good humor. So Aaron turns around and sees Lucy, and it is a beautiful moment.
Hmm.
They both have tears in their eyes, and those two are just such tender, loving people.
They are.
And they held hands, and they're earnest, and they look at each other, and they were both crying a little bit. It was
And did you keep your mouth shut?
I did.
Oh, well done. Yeah.
Well behaved. And so then after they'd had a little bit of moment, then we all sort of processed in around them, or just kind of came in around them, which ended up being perfect. So, here they are, and here the family is to surround them. And Lainey did the, whatever you want to call it.
The nuptials.
Oration, yes.
Look at you using these. You now use process twice as a verb. Did you eat a dictionary on your way over here?
And Aaron's father did a lovely blessing, which is just really sweet. And then when that was done, there were a fair amount of mosquitoes. So we changed back into hiking gear, and we
hightailed it.
And we left. And the photographer got a bunch of great pictures. And then from there, we went to Mount Washington Viewpoint, Washington Pass Viewpoint. That's what it is. It's a pass, and you can see all the mountains. Really
you hike there?
You park, you walk up.
Oh, okay.
It's just right there. But it was another really pretty spot, and then they took more pictures there, and the photographer took them off trail a little bit. So, it's like they're, standing in the wilderness.
Oh, yes.
Right behind, the stairs or whatever.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, it was really, really sweet. And then after that, we went back to this lovely, lovely lodge that we're staying at, and we had a rest and went swimming.
Oh.
And had pizza, and Aaron's mother had made a beautiful wedding cake.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that is lovely.
It was so nice. I couldn't believe how good it felt to be so intimate. I kind of thought maybe without having a big wedding, it would almost seem like it didn't happen. There was nobody there, did the tree fall in the wood? No, it was the opposite. It really felt like we were just surrounding them with love and getting their love back, and, forming this.
Oh, that is so lovely. And tell folks a little bit about why it is that Lucy and Aaron chose to get married in a rather unique format and location.
Well, they both really like to hike, and they met up in Bellingham. And so North Cascades National Park is about 2 hours straight east from Bellingham. So it was a place that they went together and explored, and they're both really into hiking and outdoor things. And they spent the whole week up to the wedding in the area. And camping. Yeah. So, and then after the wedding, they stayed at the lodge that we were in one more night, which is Freestone Lodge, which was great. Then they went to another one called Sun Something Lodge, and they're there tonight, and they're going to do a chuck wagon.
All right. Okay.
Go out into the wilderness.
And that Lucy just didn't want a big to-do.
She did not. No. So when they got engaged, or were thinking about getting engaged, I'm like, well, what kind of wedding do you want? And she just shut down. Didn't talk about it. Practically started crying with any type of questioning. And we went to go look for a wedding dress, and she hated it and was really upset after that. And she said, I just really don't want a wedding. And so they thought long and hard about what they did want. And what they really wanted to do is get married in North Cascades. But they couldn't figure out how to do it with the grandparents and the people that wanted to come in. And there's no airports, and where, and everything's so expensive. And ultimately they said, well, let's just elope, but we'll elope with the immediate family.
That is really dear.
It worked out great. So because we were such a small group and we were just in and out, we didn't need a permit for the lake. The photographer dealt with all the permit stuff. He did need a permit for some things.
Oh, that's interesting.
He got the permits that he needed for the pictures he was taking. But yeah, had we had the wedding at the lodge, then there were all these fees involved.
Oh.
Because you've got a room and blah, blah, blah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean? Yeah, all the rental stuff. And
everything's so darn expensive.
It sure is.
And, kids got other things to spend their money on.
Yes, they do. So you will and the newlyweds will still be living at your house.
Yep.
But they get to move into the same room now.
Yeah. Now look. Yeah. That's right, Sarah. How did you know? Yeah. I'll have to have that talk.
Yes. One less set of sheets to wash now, mother, after you go to work and then you go.
Right.
Yes. Yes. So yes. So but it's nice that so now you all can talk about it and relive it and have it,
Yeah. I've been getting great pictures of the hikes they've been doing since. We saw some goats. And
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah. So, and did anybody make any toast at the lunch? Because I have to say, your youngest daughter, Ellie, I thought she made the best toast at her oldest sister Lane's wedding last September in Yellowstone. That was just.
I'm still accusing her of AIing that, and she did not.
She did not. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. So, and I want to remind people that you and I know each other because of carpooling our kids to elementary school.
Mhm.
And so the fact that, the gal who used to sit in the back of my blue Honda Odyssey minivan is now married. How is that possible?
I know. We're still 28. And, Lucy she'll be 28 on her birthday. So she's the same age as we are. But I mean, we both got married pretty young. I was 25. How old were you?
Well, the first time I got married, I was 23. The second time I was, I'd have to do that. I guess I was 34.
But doesn't 27 going at 28 just seem like a baby these days?
So young.
I know.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then Aaron's parents got married at 18 or 19.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so funny because, I think I speak for both of us when I say we don't feel old, but yet there is such generational differences.
Yeah.
In certain societies and cultures. I think some people in parts of the U.S. still get married young.
Yeah.
But, here in the big city of Portland, it doesn't happen all that often.
No, but those two, they know what they want and they want each other and they want to build a life together. And I think they know themselves and their love, and I'm very happy for them.
Yes. And you were going to become a grandma in about 2.5?
Possible. I'm only 28. In October, middle of October.
Okay, all right.
My son will be born, name to be determined.
Okay, very good. Oh,
But yeah, he's growing. Lainey's getting big. She's still running.
Yep.
She's still running like crazy. And Allie's, Aaron's sister is also a big runner. So those two went for a run every morning that we were out there. Well, 2 mornings. Mm-hmm. And there's cougars and bears and stuff out there. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So made them stay together.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, just I wish them all the best.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Well, hey, speaking of the wilderness, have you seen the new Little House on the Prairie yet?
I have not started watching it. A mother runner from Pennsylvania, shout out to Jen. She texted me because she knows what a huge Little House on the Prairie fan I am. She's like, "Oh, have you started watching the Netflix series?" I hadn't even heard about it.
What? And
so I don't know. The thing about it is I watched the preview and so we could go on, we could do a whole episode about how scholarly research and kind of the thinking of Little House on the Prairie has changed a lot, and how the treatment of the indigenous people is so terrible in the books, and should we still revere the books like we do, and did Rose really write them, her daughter, all that stuff. Okay, so we have progressed that far, yet still the casting makes it look like they all just stepped out of an Abercrombie and Fitch catalog. I mean, come on. I mean, honestly, the character who plays Paw, he could be McDreamy on Grey's Anatomy. It's
probably no whiskers.
Correct. He has no whiskers. I do believe, so the clip I saw, there was another dad. He maybe had a beard, but I mean, because I have seen photos of the real Ingalls family, and they were not Ralph Lauren models, no.
Nice looking people. But...
Oh, no. I was kind of like, I couldn't unsee the family once I saw the pictures of them.
They were bad looking. Or you got to remember, in the few pictures there are, Mary's blind in most of them.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying Paul is no Michael Landon.
No, he's no Michael Landon. But, I think I don't know. I mean, I think he's handsome enough.
Oh gosh, no, I was scarred by seeing those photos. And also that their hair, I mean their hair was like practically down to their feet. Their hair, on the show and their hair is made a big deal of in the books, that Laura has the brown hair, Mary has the blonde hair, the ribbons, the blue and the red, and when mom puts the wrong color on their bows, the bows on the wrong braids. But I mean their hair probably got washed ever.
I know, right?
I mean, ratty doesn't begin to describe probably how it really was. So I don't know. I'm not asking them to, have method actors, not shower for months on end before they step onto the set. But let's do some people who are more rough hued looking.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Well, I haven't seen it yet either, but from my Instagram feeds, there's the bonnet gate. You've been hearing about the bonnets.
I've also decided I'm probably not going to watch it.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely going to watch it.
Oh, okay.
They've got these straw bonnets that sort of look like halos that are not historically accurate for that period of time. And I mean, they're costume, they're stylized, but even for the style, they're probably more like 1830. It's a whole thing on my historical feeds about this bonnet. People are going on that.
Your historical feeds.
But another thing that in their favor, that they have done some things that are historically accurate. I haven't seen it yet, but I guess in one of the previews, Mary and Laura are wearing corsets over their chemise, and everybody wore corsets back then. A lot of men wore corsets. Young people, like children, wore corsets. It was just to keep your skirts up and keep your back straight. It wasn't to make your waist necessarily small. So they are doing some interesting historical things correctly, which I'm excited to see how they present. And then,
but it's funny though that they wouldn't then just go all the way and be authentic all the way.
Yeah, well, they're not doing beard on paw. And it will be interesting to see how they treat their time in the Osage Nation, because we all knew they were squatting if they presented that way or don't. Yeah. Anyway, I'm excited to see it.
Oh my goodness!
All these new things, new marriages, new babies, a new Laura Ingalls Wilder.
Wrap it up with a bow, Molly. Right. Thanks for coming by after work to chat. Okay, it's time to hear from some brands that support this show and to switch co-hosts. When I return, my co-host will be Britany Williams, and we'll be talking about all types of skincare and skin concerns with Dr. Brooke Jackson, a board-certified dermatologist and dermatologic surgeon. She's the founder of a Durham, North Carolina practice called Skin Wellness Dermatology Associates. A marathoner and triathlete, Dr. Jackson is also the author of a book called Skincare for Runners. Stay with us. Well, Dr. Jackson, welcome back to the show. So glad you could join us again.
Thank you. So glad to be here and happy that you invited me.
Dr. Jackson, I'm really excited to meet you. I mean, virtually, I suppose, and I have like a ton of my own questions about skincare as a runner, but tell us a little bit about your running and your triathlon background.
So I am a board certified dermatologist, and because I have been really spending a good deal of my life running around to different training programs and picking up and moving, I often found myself in cities where I knew no one. And so I really started running marathons because I saw a little ad when I was in Texas to run a marathon, change your life. And I'm like, I will never do that. I grew up playing field hockey, sort of doing some short stuff, but I'm like, marathon, that's way too long. But this might be a social opportunity for me to kind of get out, meet some people. And so I joined this group, and 6 months later, I found myself at the start of the Houston Marathon going, what in the hell am I getting ready to do?
Wow.
And I did it, and I loved it, although, certainly I had really flat feet, and no one told me that flat people with flat feet really probably shouldn't be running long distance, but I did it anyway. So I ended up with IT band issues and, physical therapy and blah, blah, blah. And so got back on my feet and ended up running 9 more marathons. And so triathlons, I grew up swimming actually. So I was on a swimming team when I was in elementary school. And so swimming is pretty easy for me. Running, I was already training for running for races. And so I will share with you, I'm probably the laziest triathlon trainee ever because literally I usually do a triathlon while I'm still training for a marathon. I already know how to swim. I've never really enjoyed the bike.
Mm.
And so often I will like pull my bike out of the garage the weekend of the race. I'm like, I should put some air in my tires.
That's awesome. I love that mentality because that's how I am about running.
And that's how we roll with the triathlons. So
I love it.
I'm much more of a runner rather than a triathlete for sure.
That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about your book, Skincare for Runners. I'd love to hear about how it came about. I heard you described it to Sarah in an email as your pandemic passion project, which I'm really intrigued by.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, I've been running marathons for a while and I've been a dermatologist for a while. And I've always had a lot of athletes in my practice, whether they be, you know, amateur athletes, high school athletes. I've had some Olympians and some professional athletes. And so I sort of get that mentality where, it's very similar to having to go to med school, where you pound it out, you work hard, and, eventually it pays off. And so with the advice that I've been given to my patients over the years, I find myself saying the same things, especially as it relates to skin, sun protection, managing dermatologic conditions while you're sweating or swimming. And so I'm like, I should just put this in a book. And so this has been on my mind for a very long time. And, I think COVID and pandemic has done a lot of soul searching, or hopefully a lot of people have done some soul searching over the last couple of years. But this is one of the things I'm like, you know what? Let me just pound this out. And I did. And here we have it. It's on Amazon and also on my website, joylessskin.com. And it's a bestseller.
I love that.
Nice. Well, we'll definitely have a link to it in our show notes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
as we often do, we asked our Facebook community for questions, and I tried to group the questions into kind of loose categories. So we're going to kick things off with what I'm calling skin bumps.
Okay, so Courtney tells us, I find that even as a 40-year-old, I get back knee after a sweaty run. I try and shower as soon as possible after running, but sometimes I have other things that get in the way, like getting the kids off to school. What kind of shower gel could I use to help with back and shoulder blemishes?
So I would say there's not a specific type of shower gel. It's really just getting the sweat and grime off. And so when you think about it, it's on the back and chest is actually not so much acne, it's more folliculitis. And so what that means, itis means inflammation. And so it is inflammation of the hair follicle that is really triggered by bacteria and yeast. And so very, very, very common in athletes. I've seen it a lot in people who often sit for long periods of time with their back pressed up against a chair.
Mm.
And so, as an athlete, you're hot, you're sweaty. We have bacteria and yeast normally as our skin flora. You put those two things together and you're sort of like the oven that's producing this little yeast factory. And so what I recommend for patients is make sure that you are, number one, wearing some sort of a wicking fabric. Cotton, everybody loves cotton, but the problem with cotton is it doesn't, it holds the moisture next to your skin. And so you end up with this sticky, yucky shirt next to you. So wicking fabric, Cool Max Dry Fit, Under Armour, whatever brand you like, wicks the moisture away from you. So you're actually drier, but also making sure that you bring a dry, clean shirt. If you have to go pick up the kids or run some errands, get that wet stuff off of you. So keep a dry shirt in your car, get the wet one off. Even if your dry shirt is cotton, that's fine. At least you're no longer sitting in that sticky stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then because this has been such an issue, and a lot of people like yourself, you have to run the errands and you don't get to a shower very quickly, I actually developed a shower in a box. So I have a wipe that you can throw in your gym bag, and it has a little bit of hypochlorous acid in it, which is antibacterial and anti-yeast. And you can just use that. It's pretty large. You can use it on your face, your back, and your chest, and then you won't have to hit the shower so quickly.
All right. So Jillian writes, and this is long because then there's another one. So Jillian writes, I get itchy/stingy, bumpy/scaly red patches at the outside corners of my eyes and under my nose. It's worst in the East Coast winter, but can happen any time of year. It's like my skin is reacting to my sweat and runny nose. I use a moisturizer twice a day to calm it down before I irritate it all over again sweating. Any tips? Is there anything I can do to prevent it? And in perhaps a related question, Hildy wrote, when I run inside on the basement treadmill, I develop burns in various areas of my face, tip of the nose, under each eye, bottom of face. It turns into very dry spots over the course of a few days. Not sure what's going on. So just to me, it seemed like patchy bumps on face that are not acne.
Yeah, and so a lot of that, if you are sweating, think sweat is basically salt water. And so if you have salt water that is in contact with your relatively thin and otherwise sensitive skin, like around the eyes, around the mouth, then those things together are asking for trouble. So it's irritation. Sweat, tears, kind of same deal. Very, very irritating. So Vaseline will be your best friend. You can take a little bit of Vaseline and just do a little swipe under the eye and in the corner of the eye. And I recommend that also for, some people who just tear when they sleep. They wake up and they have like this little stream of, salt, dried salt on the side of their face. And so Vaseline can be helpful for that. For the East Coast runner who's in the cold weather, I would actually, before you go out for a run, just take a thin coat of Vaseline and put it on your entire face. It functions also as a wind barrier and a moisturizer. So you can protect your skin from kind of wind burn as well as any issues that you're going to have with sweat. And moving on down the body, other great uses for Vaseline. You can use them in any area that tends to rub. And so like around the armpits, between the thighs, around the nipples, any kind of friction areas. So Vaseline, it's readily available, it's cheap, and it's awesome.
That's awesome. We did something similar to that when I ran cross country in college. We would rub Vaseline all over our bodies when it was really cold.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because we were Texas runners. I'm not sure, but it's like always, it was like an extra layer of like protection over. I don't know why we didn't just wear leggings.
Clothes.
Yeah, exactly. But that was always the go-to choice. So I appreciate that was the answer. Moving on to the next one. Good.
Yeah, I was going to tell you just a funny story about Vaseline. So in one of my very first races as a novice runner, you don't know things, right? And so you're running through the race and somebody like is holding this cardboard out and you think it's like goo or a snack or something.
Oh, no.
So you grab a handful of it.
Oh, no.
It was Vaseline.
Oh, my God.
It was Vaseline. It did not taste very good. So it's good to put on, but not to ingest.
Oh, goodness. That.
Oh, my gosh. And did you just the whole glob of it in one fell swoop?
The whole glob. Gosh.
Yeah.
I'm going to gag a little bit just thinking about it.
That's like, as if the race isn't hard enough.
Right.
Oh, my goodness. Next question. Jody confesses, I've been dealing with heat rash on my back. I immediately get out of workout clothes and shower, but it keeps reappearing. Any suggestions?
Could be a couple of things. So, everything we just talked about before as far as the wicking fabric, but in a heat rash, if it looks like hives, sometimes there is something called a physical urticaria. Urticaria is a medical term for hives. And people can develop hives just from being hot. People can develop hives from sweat, even being in contact with water. And so one of the things she may want to do before she goes, most runs are scheduled. You don't just decide you're going to run 10 miles. So when you're going to do it. But go ahead and take an antihistamine before. One of the non-sedating antihistamines are all over the counter. Claritin, Zyrtec, or Allegra, just pick one. But I would probably take one about 20 minutes before a run, and that might help.
I wish I had that advice in college because I don't have any more, heat and exercise induced hives is what my doctor called it. So someone who was running 75 miles a week in Houston, Texas in the summer, heat and exercise induced hives is an everyday situation. And I would take a Benadryl afterwards, but it would just knock me out. And so I wish someone would have told me, take non-drowsy beforehand, girl. That's great advice.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. The light bulb just went off.
Right. I literally was just like, wow, okay, 10 years too late. Should have done it beforehand.
It's never too late. So.
It is. I'll use it now.
Yeah. We have a lot of pollen here in Portland.
We do.
Yeah.
Sorry. So Tina took our request for TMI seriously when she told us a couple of years ago I had a skin tag on my lady parts. Never had one before or since anywhere, she points out. My GP said it was from rubbing when I exercise. I didn't believe her. I had it removed. So Tina's question, can running give your lady parts skin tags?
What are skin tags?
Little, well, I'll let the doctor.
Okay.
Why am I jumping to answer that? My gosh.
Sarah was ready.
Yeah, Sarah, the
Oh.
ego.
All right, Tina. So first, what is a skin tag? So a skin tag is really just like what it sounds. It's a completely benign growth. We usually see them in areas of friction and areas that are sort of increases. And so very commonly I will see them around the neck. I see them in the armpits. You see them in the groin. You can see them under the breast. Now, I think it's just probably more coincidence that most people start developing them and growing them in their late 20s, early 30s, and you get more as you have more birthdays. And so I refer to them as the barnacles of life. If you have them in an area, because they normally occur in areas of where skin folds or sort of in the creases, which would be in your thighs or in the underarms. What running may have done, because you're moving, is the additional friction may have caused it to become irritated. And so I can't say that running created this. I think it probably was going to happen anyway. It's just running made it noticeable. They're not dangerous. You'll get more as you have more birthdays. And, when they bug you, you just stick them off.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe after the show I'll show Britany a few of my skin tags because I
Hopefully not on your lady parts.
no, yeah.
I won't be doing that.
Many
Sarah.
things can happen to
got an
runners in the lady part.
There's so many things to I don't want to say worry about, but and here's
To
another
look
day
forward
at
to.
34, learn yet another thing to just cool. Skin tags. Bring it on.
Yeah. But, again, if you have anything, and that's the way Vaseline can take care of it, or, if it's a little bit of a dangler, just putting a Band-Aid, but then you get irritation from the Band-Aid. So taking it off is probably the right thing to do. But Vaseline, again, any place where you have friction, Vaseline is your friend. And because of that, too, in the lady parts, I also tell people, you're better off probably wearing like biker type shorts as opposed to the little bunchy ones, because fabric can cause irritation as well if it bunches. And so, rather than a tank top, wear a tee. Rather than, those little floppy shorts, wear biker shorts.
Interesting. All right, moving on to my favorite topic, which is chafing. I struggle with chafing. I last episode that I was on talked about how I most recently have been dealing with butt crack chafing, which I didn't realize was a thing, but apparently I now use a chafe stick on my butt before every single long run. So I feel this question from Kimberly. Kimberly wrote, training for my last marathon, I chafed so badly on my back that I now have scars. Any suggestions for helping minimize their appearance?
Yeah. The back is not a usual place to chafe unless, of course, she was wearing a fanny pack or a water bottle or something that was rubbing. So, again, chafing, because there's nothing else really rubbing on your back unless it's around the bra. So any place where there is any kind of friction or irritation, you can potentially get chafing. And really, what is it? It's irritation of the skin, usually from rubbing. That, skin really functions, I think of skin as like saran wrap. It is our barrier and protects our insides from the outside world, from bacteria, yeast, everything, and keeps our blood inside, our bones, everything else inside. It's like saran wrap. And so when that saran wrap is compromised, like you've taken little fingernails and poked through your saran wrap covering your bowl of onions, your refrigerator smells like onions. And so that's kind of what happens when your skin chafes. Your skin gets irritated and it's not really functioning as a skin barrier. So that's why it actually feels almost like a sunburn when you have those areas. And so, obviously, if you chafe, the last thing you want to do is jump in a hot shower because that's not going to feel good. So, I would make probably dial it down, take a cooler shower. Vaseline will be your friend. Any kind of moisturizer, keep things on the cooler side. And then figure out what it was that bothered your skin and fix that. So sometimes it can be the new tag on, a t-shirt, or your bra just wasn't fitting right. So you got to fix it.
So, well, that's interesting that you bring up the take a cooler shower, because we have a ancillary show called AMR Answers, and somebody was asking, why is it when you hop into a shower it hurts so badly where you chafed? But then she wanted to know why that pain diminishes. So we gave the advice to take a cooler shower, but Dr. Jackson, can you explain why it is that it doesn't hurt for the whole time you're in the shower? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So initially, like, our nerve endings are sensitized with any kind of irritation. And very commonly, I mean, like with people who've got urticaria or hives or any kind of itchy condition, hot showers feel great, right? They're relaxing, which is why a lot of people like to take them. But the hot water is also a distractor. And
Oh,
so it's giving your nerve endings a different sensation, so
mm,
that your skin nerve endings are like, oh, well, what's this hot thing going on over here? I'm not worried so much about that burning that I had an hour ago, but now, like, let me figure out what this hot stuff is going on. And
uh-huh.
so it's almost like your nerve endings are distracted by the heat and they forget the burn.
Okay.
And so that's what happens over time. But with that said, anytime you are uncomfortable, if you've got a sunburn, if you've got a shave, you're always better cool. Cool will calm you down and
Hmm.
be more comforting. No, it doesn't have to be ice cold. It just has to be like warm. I mean, not super, no steam in the mirror.
Hmm.
And that will be much more comfortable for you.
All right. Okay, I like that. You do a good job of making scientific things very approachable
Mm.
and understandable. Thank you. Uh, moving on, sunscreen, dare I say, is a hot topic for our crowd. April asks, how important is sunscreen when we're running at dawn and the sun is just coming up?
Well, I always tell everyone, just because then you don't have to think about it.
Mm,
Um, if you are going to be out there and there's sunlight in the sky, even if you didn't start out and you're going to run through the sunrise, you got some sun exposure.
mm,
So, the sunscreen is such a huge conversation. And um, let me first address an elephant in the room about vitamin D deficiency,
mhm.
because everybody likes to blame dermatologists for the epidemic of vitamin D deficiency because we make everybody wear sunscreen.
It's a
Um,
conspiracy.
I would, right? It's a conspiracy, right? And so with vitamin D, the amount of sun exposure, because our skin does participate in the production of vitamin D, but the amount of sun exposure that we actually need is probably about 5 to 10 minutes of unprotected sun exposure. So that basically means if you're going to drive to work with short sleeve shirt on, you're good.
Mm,
Um, our bodies don't store vitamin D, so that's why going to the beach or going to a tanning salon is not ever going to increase your vitamin D level. And there are a lot of other reasons why people may be vitamin D deficient. So let's just kind of put that vitamin D thing away. But as far as the sunscreen, we know that significant exposure to sun puts you at risk for skin cancer. Most people who run, particularly run long distance, it's not, you're out there for a very long time, both in, I mean, I'm not from Kenya, so, but, I'm out there for a long time. But, even with your training period, it's months that you're training. And so you do this year after year after year, and it's really cumulative effect of sun since you were a little kid. And just like we talk about smokers, it's the pack years of smoking that puts you at risk for lung cancer. It's really the sun exposure years. So you start running track when you're in high school, you end up transitioning to running marathons in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. You got 40 years of sun exposure. Your risk of getting skin cancer is huge. And so wearing sunscreen is part of that protective mechanism. Certainly if you don't like sunscreen and there's some people who just for whatever reason won't wear it, then your other sun protective measures would include keeping your shirt on,
mhm.
making sure that, again, more coverage. So rather than wearing a tank, you wear a tee or a long sleeve shirt. You wear a hat that's going to cover your forehead and your ears. You wear probably longer shorts. You minimize the amount of skin that is actually exposed to the sun, because if you add all of that up, that's where you're going to be more at risk.
That's interesting. I need to wear more sunscreen.
I know, man. That was some straight talk. That was scared straight.
Yeah, I was gonna say you spoke straight to my soul. Which leads us actually to Laura's question. She asks, "Are there any recommendation for a sunscreen that will provide effective SPF coverage and remain on her sweaty face for the duration of a half marathon?"
The short answer is no. Well, I guess the other answer is how fast do you run? So
I love that. Nope.
Next question.
Yeah. So here's the thing about sunscreen. Poorly understood, misunderstood. We're going to go through this easy breezy. So sunscreen is sort of a generic term for some sort of cream or potion that you put on to protect you from the sun. You have physical sunscreens and chemical sunscreens. Physical sunscreens tend to be zinc oxide, titanium dioxide. In the olden days, it's what the lifeguards wore, that kind of white stuff on their nose. Over the years, it's become micronized, so it's actually, you don't have to walk around looking like a lifeguard. It's, they're actually pretty elegant formulations. Sunscreens, the physical ones, act just like they sound. They are a physical blocker from the sun's rays to penetrate through your skin. The chemical sunblockers are almost like little Pac-Man, like, that game Pac-Man. And so they will come and chew up the damage that the rays are giving to your skin. So the two functions, both physical blocker and sort of the Pac-Man mechanism, work best together. So the best sunscreens are a combination of physical and chemical. There are some people who want to avoid chemicals, so obviously you go with the physical. The other thing that I will say is the best sunscreen for you is the one that you're going to use. So, sometimes you split hairs too much and you end up talking yourself out of wearing a sunscreen. Well, the other answer is no one ever died from wearing sunscreen. People die from skin cancer every day. So, if you enjoy running, you're doing a great thing for your body, but you're also putting yourself at increased lifetime risk of skin cancer. And wear some sunscreen. So the numbers, the SPF, that means sun protection factor. What that means is how long you are going to be able to stay out in the sun before you get the damage. And so for easy math, let's say if you've got very, very fair skin, blonde hair, blue eyes, you go out in the sun in a minute and you're going to sunburn, then if you put on an SPF 30, that means you can stay out for 30 minutes to still get the same amount of damage. So you're still going to get it. It's going to take that much longer. And so the other pieces of sort of this global protection are making sure that you choose an appropriate sunscreen with an SPF. Now, SPF only bears relevance to UVB. There's UVA and UVC that play a role in skin cancer. There is no rating system for UVA. And so you cannot have a false sense of security that I've got my SPF 45 and I'm good. I'm like, well, I don't know. Are you? Is it broad spectrum? Because that's the word or the thing that you need to look for to say that it incorporates UVA protection. It will either say straight out that it's UVA, UVB protection, or it will say broad spectrum. But know, again, that SPF only bears reference to UVB protection. So the other thing is making sure that you are using enough. And so I have patients say, well, is my sunscreen from last summer still good? No, it's not. So if you still have sunscreen left from last summer, that means you weren't using it appropriately. If you have a tube of sunscreen, and let's say it's 3 ounces, you get it from the store, SPF 60, if you're going to put it on your face, need to use probably about the amount of a quarter to cover your face. Most people don't use that much, but that amount is what was used in the lab to garner the SPF 60 rating. So if you're only using a portion of what you should be using, then you have a portion of the protection. And the other thing that most people fail to do is to reapply. And so in answer to that listener's question about getting through a half marathon, well, that's 13.1 miles. And again, it depends how fast you run. So if you're going to do that in less than 2 to 3 hours, you're probably good. But if you are not going to do that in 2 or 3 hours, then you're not. You need to reapply.
So is there sunscreen that works then on wet skin? That was a question that we had from Kristen. Like if you're sweating a lot, obviously I think the importance of sunscreen is huge, and it sounds like that reapplication is probably the key part that we're all missing.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us, when we're going out for a long run or a race, it's taking more than an hour. And I don't think that there are, SPF 200s out there these days. So like, what are we doing? What are the best application practices for when we are already wet and sweaty and need to reapply sunscreen?
Yeah, great questions. And so the labeling of sunscreens has been a great deal of heartache, debate, and constant work effort with the American Academy of Dermatology and the FDA. And so we've been working for years actually to simplify and clarify the labeling. And so one thing is the numbers, the rating system, the SPF 45, 60. It's confusing. And so going forward, at some point, we can't say when, because I don't know when, the FDA is going to make it very simple. It's going to be SPF 50 and above and 50 and below. Simple. Okay, so then we know that, some of the difference between SPF 60 and 80, some of it's just marketing, right? Because you're not necessarily going to be out there. If it takes you like 2 hours to get a sunburn, you're not going to be out there for 16 hours running. So, most importantly, making sure that you are using enough. If you're going to be out doing a long run and you are very sweaty, the other thing is sweat proof. There's no such thing as sweat proof. There's no such thing as waterproof. You will see some of the labeling now say sweat resistant, but then there should be a number on there that says sweat resistant for 80 minutes, water resistant for 80 minutes. The labelings have to say that now. So that means it's good for 80 minutes. So you have 80 minutes before you need to reapply. If you are going to be out there longer, then you got to figure it out. And so, sometimes that means having your family members meet you halfway through so they can have the sunscreen. A lot of these training programs now, like Fleet Feet, they have aid stations along training runs as well as the race. And now, thankfully, they're starting to carry some sunscreen so you can reapply and make it easy for you. The other thing that I will mention is there is a capsule called HelioCare. And HelioCare is basically crushed up fern, like the plant. So some scientists made the observation many years ago that fern plants do not burn. So why don't we crush it up and make people eat it, and they will not burn either. So it is considered a dietary supplement. It does not carry a labeling from the FDA about being an oral sunscreen, so I can't say that. But what I will say is that I encourage people who are significantly sun exposed or have risk factors for skin cancer to take this. And so I would, it's an antioxidant that helps your skin mitigate the damage of UV rays. It is not instead of a sunscreen, it is with, in addition to. And so for my runners, my athletes, my kids who are playing soccer, I would encourage you to go ahead and add this into your regimen. You take it before you run, 20 minutes before you run, and it's good for, probably about 4 to 6 hours. So that is something that you can do in addition to help you get through a longer race or a longer run.
My dermatologist also recommended that for me, and I took it for a little while because I went to Hawaii and got really bad sun poisoning. And so she recommended also to take it, like if I'm going to go to a tropical location and just be sitting out on the beach, kind of closer to the sun's rays for a long period of time, to take it then too. Wow. I don't know if you'd recommend that as well, but that's what she said to me.
Well, I would never recommend anybody go sit out on the beach.
Well, okay, good point. But if you're going to have to be in the sun, maybe not sitting out on the beach, but doing something else. Playing pickleball, maybe.
I have a picture in my office in one of my exam rooms of one of those sun protective tents with my foot sticking out of it, and I point to patients like, "That's the dermatologist at the beach."
That's amazing. What about for your scalp? So I think for me, I am Black and I wear my hair in cornrows and in braids. And I certainly notice that my scalp is much more fair complected than my face. And so
Yep.
I'm curious, should I be putting sunscreen on my head if you have light skin and fine hair? Should you be putting it on your scalp? Like, what's the situation when it comes to your hair and your head?
Yeah, I would always, well, I mean, you're better off just wearing a hat because absolutely while women tend to not get a lot of skin cancer statistically on their scalp because they have more hair than men do. Where they will get it is in their part. You will get a sunburn in your part. So I would absolutely encourage you, if you're going to wear your hair in braids with sort of scalp obviously showing, you can get one of those spray sunscreens, just kind of run a little bit of it through your hair. But again, easier just to kind of throw on a hat. But scalp is actually a very high risk area for skin cancer, particularly for men, and particularly for men who may be balding.
Yeah. All right, so that leads us to a hair-related question. We're leaving sunscreen behind. That was incredibly informative and enlightening and kind of
That's
scary.
scary.
Yeah, scary, but thank you. So this hair-related question from Courtney, who is curious about ingrown hairs down there. She says they tend to pop up when I run after I do some grooming. How do you prevent that?
That's back to the lady part.
Yeah.
So depends on how you're grooming, but really kind of gets back to the same issue of friction and irritation. And so, hair down there is still hair. And if your hair down there is longish, which is probably why you're grooming, then, hair can get caught. It can get pulled. It can get irritated. And so, Vaseline, if you're not going to groom, if you're going to wear shorts, particularly, those shorts that have like the little panty liner in it, that often cuts you right where the underwear line is, bikini line is. And so, again, probably better to choose something like a biker short that there's nothing going to be sitting right there in your crease. If you are going to wear those type of shorts, I would most definitely put some Vaseline or some other sort of barrier, Body Glide, or any of those things in that area as well. So,
They're also making shorts these days that don't have the liners, just as someone who used to work in that industry. If you look for training shorts tend to not have the liners. So if you look for a stretch woven training short, it is basically a running short without the brief and maybe less pockets, which again, pros and cons to everything, but just a heads up.
And you would wear those without underwear?
No, I would wear
Oh,
underwear
okay.
of some kind.
Okay, yeah.
But I think that sometimes those briefs aren't necessarily made for comfort and like less friction in that area.
Yeah.
So I think it maybe gives you freedom of choice. And you could wear like a biker underneath it, or it kind of depends on what you're into.
Good
but
call.
just kind of a heads up for folks that if you're in your local sporting goods store, you might find solutions outside of the running area. I said it. I know that's shocking, but it is true.
Yep. Always good to cross-pollinate.
Yep. Let's talk deodorant. Kathy wants to know about natural deodorant. Is there a brand that actually works, and where do we stand on deodorant and its ingredients? She fully expects to sweat and smell when she runs, but when she's just sitting at her computer, the rest of her body is freezing and her armpits are on overdrive. What's up with that?
Well, okay. So there's a difference between a deodorant and an antiperspirant. And deodorant is exactly as it sounds. It deodorizes. So often they're heavy with perfume. Antiperspirants typically have aluminum chloride in there that helps to minimize sweat. So natural deodorants, as a dermatologist, I always see people when they have problems with it. So my view of some of these things is skewed because I see what the problems are. And often with natural deodorants, particularly people who have otherwise sensitive skin, like they've got hay fever, sinus problems, seasonal allergies. I will share with these patients, you and Mother Nature don't get along very well. It's pollen. Pollen, plants comes from flowering plants. What do natural products? What are they made of? So you and Mother Nature don't get along very well. So you don't necessarily want to put Mother Nature in your armpits. So for those patients, I would probably recommend that they go with more of a deodorant that's made for people who have more sensitive skin, like Almay, Dove. There's another brand called Vanna Cream, which has very few ingredients in it. It's one of my favorite for people who got they're sort of allergic to everything, including fragrance. That's a good one to try.
I'm sorry, what was the name of that?
Baking soda.
Oh, wait,
Vanna
what was the
Cream?
V like victory?
Uh-huh.
Okay, all right.
VANI.
And then
so Dove makes one for sensitive skin. Even Arm & Hammer, they have a deodorant out there, and it's straight up baking soda. So that will help with the deodorant component of it as well.
Solution for everything.
But I would probably steer a little clear, particularly of anything that has botanicals in it, especially if you've got more sensitive skin.
Okay.
That's great advice. All right, let's wrap this convo by covering toenails, one of my favorite topics. Amy asked, what do we do to save the toenails? I'm pretty for sure she means, they get blood blisters, they get black. I think if you're a runner, you know what I'm talking about. Also, I used to lose my toenails a lot in soccer, a lot. But that was probably because I was getting stepped on. But how do we save them?
I love that. I just flash across, save the toenails, like save the whales.
Yes, save the toenails.
Okay, so toenails. Toenails, first and foremost, make sure your shoes fit properly. Everybody feels some kind of way about their running shoes, but if you have a toenail issue, I would make sure that you are looking or considering shoes that have a little bit of a deeper toe box. Make sure they are also long enough. So generally, running shoes should be probably a half size larger than your street shoe. And then you can also Vaseline your toenails before you put your wicking socks on.
Are we sure Vaseline's not like a sponsor of this podcast?
I know.
Because that has been your answer for everything. I kind of love it.
But
this is kind of nice because it's a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
Just a vat
one-stop shop for everything.
Vaseline's like, why did the sales of Vaseline suddenly pop up?
Exactly. It's so
I have
beginning of
no
April.
stock at Vaseline. No, right? And it's the Wonder Jelly. It's been around forever. That's why it's been around forever. It's classic.
Yeah, just don't eat.
But so again, decreasing friction.
Yeah.
So you can put it on your toes. You can put it between your toes. Wear your wicking socks. That should help. But there's just like you, every time I go over 18 miles, I get a bruise on my toenail. And it is what it is, and you just get to see the life cycle of the toenail, and we all know it's going to grow out. Now, let me just put a pause on that because we want to make sure it grows out. Bob Marley, who was a soccer player, who had an issue with his toenail, who died of melanoma. It was a melanoma on his toenail. And so it was thought to be a bruise from his running and soccer injury, but it was a melanoma. And so to make sure that toenails generally grow a little bit more slowly than fingernails. If you have a bruise in the what we call the proximal portion of your toenail, which is the part which is closest to you, not the part that you trim off, it typically takes about 3 to 6 months for that part which is closest to you to grow to the edge of your toe, which is what you cut off. You should see it progress and move forward. If it does not, and if particularly that closer portion next to you still stays dark, I would probably get that evaluated. Because we also know that trauma, chronic trauma, when we ask our bodies to continually heal from something, from some inflammation or irritation, that can also predispose us to certain types of cancers. And so, never just assume, oh, it must have just been a running injury, especially if it's not getting better and it's not moving out. So I would say with caution, your toenails should grow out, but take those other things that we talked about, and hopefully that will prevent.
Wow.
It's interesting. It's really aligned with, I think, what sometimes you hear physical therapists and doctors say. Like if you have acute or I guess opposite acute chronic pain in one area and it's not moving and it's staying there, you need to check it out. But if you have general soreness that is kind of generally like when a pain starts to kind of move around, or maybe not a pain because certainly there's injuries, but like a soreness starts to move, as a trainer, I'm always like, okay, good. Like it's generally good when it starts to move. And I feel like that's kind of what you're saying with the toenail. Like once it starts, you can see your body trying to get rid of it. It's a good sign. When it's just staying, your body's consistently having to work on it. That's a red flag.
So I have to ask about Bob Marley. Like, is that like dermatology, like lore or something? I mean, that like, is that, or is that, like a case study? I'm fascinated by that, factoid.
Yeah, I mean, so again, I'm probably skewed because this is certainly a conversation that I have with patients a lot, but because we focus on skin cancers, we tend to know like who are the celebrities that have had skin cancer, because sometimes patients are like, oh, really? I didn't know that. And I often bring up Bob Marley because he had brown skin. And the word on the street is that if you've got brown skin, you don't have to worry about sunscreen because you're going to get skin cancer. I'm like, you do.
I
I've written
subscribe
4
to
book
that
chapters
for,
on
I'll
skin
admit it,
cancer,
for a
skin of
very
color.
long time.
Oh yeah.
I did not wear sunscreen until I was maybe 26, 27. I mean, recently, until I think I woke up and I was like, you are not invincible just because from skin cancer, just because you have brown skin. So I'm trying to make up for lost time here. Got some work to do after I've listened to this podcast. Got some work to do.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Dr. Jackson, thank you so much for really enlightening us on so many topics and for joining us again. And we, as I said, we'll link to your book, and best of luck with that. And we'll think of you when we slather on repeatedly. Well, Vaseline, of course.
When I go to the store immediately after this, depart where we are and go buy gasoline, I'll think of you. For sure.
The big old vat of it. You can use it for everything.
Exactly. Yes, except eating. Yes. All right.
Yeah.
Well, great to talk with you again. Thanks for making time.
It was great meeting you.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Time for another short sponsor break. Thanks for listening. This podcast is a production of Another Mother Runner and Feisty Media. For more on Feisty and our other podcasts, events, workshops, and Feisty Fest, definitely check out the new video we have on the site about that 3-day event by visiting feisty.co. That's feisty.co.